In the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, where countless wars tear across a galaxy rife with conflict, Chaos Knights embody corruption in its most horrifying form. These twisted, war-bound behemoths stalk battlefields as both heralds of devastation and living monuments to the insidious power of the ruinous powers. Originating as noble tools of imperial defense, the Knights were once proud engines of war, piloted by humans bound to codes of honor and loyalty. However, their transformation into Chaos Knights marks a descent into the abyss of madness, ambition, and heresy. The Chaos Knights are no mere machines. They are living horrors, fusions of corrupted technology and human minds twisted by their dark allegiance. Each knight is a terrifying reflection of the pilot within, mirroring their deepest flaws, fears, and desires, while amplifying the malignant influence of the Chaos Gods. On the battlefield, they are an overwhelming presence, their appearance alone enough to break the morale of even the most steadfast defenders of the Imperium. They serve as instruments of terror, tearing apart not just armies, but the very fabric of hope and resilience within their enemies. The corruption of a Chaos Knight begins not with the machine, but with the pilot. These individuals are often former nobles or scions of knight houses, those who have succumbed to temptation, despair, or rage. Their descent is rarely immediate. It begins with whispers in the void, promises of power, revenge, or freedom from the constraints of imperial fealty. Over time, the once proud warriors are consumed, their will no longer their own, but a vessel for the will of chaos. The knight suit, too, reflects this corruption, its once pristine armor scarred and warped into grotesque forms that mirror the chaos within. Chaos Knights are not mere participants in warfare. They are instruments of corruption itself. When they stride onto the battlefield, they do more than destroy. They see doubt, fear, and despair among their enemies. The air grows heavy with a palpable aura of malevolence. The earth trembles beneath their steps, and the sky itself seems to darken as if recoiling from their presence. Their weapons are more than tools of destruction. They are extensions of the Chaos God's will, spreading devastation not just to the body, but to the very soul of their victims. Their alliances are as varied as they are unpredictable. Some Chaos Knights serve directly under Chaos Warlords, pledging their allegiance to demon princes or the mighty champions of the Dark Gods. Others operate as lone agents of devastation, driven by personal vendettas or the insatiable thirst for destruction. They often form uneasy alliances with other servants of chaos, such as the Traitor Legions or the Lost and the Damned, amplifying the destructive potential of these already deadly forces. The transformation of a battlefield touched by Chaos Knights is profound. The once structured lines of defense collapse under the sheer weight of terror and devastation they unleash. Their presence ensures that the scars of war run deeper than physical ruin. They leave psychic and emotional wounds that can linger for generations. Entire worlds fall under their shadow, becoming desolate wastelands or spawning grounds for further corruption. This is the tale of Chaos Knights, the harbingers of ruin who personify the essence of chaos on the battlefield. To understand their terrifying impact, we must delve deeper into their history, their fall from grace, and their role in the grand tapestry of war in the 41st millennium. Only then can we truly grasp the depth of their corruption and the devastating power they wield. As we journey through their story, let us explore not just the machines themselves, but the souls entwined within them, the forces that shape their destiny, and the unrelenting darkness they bring to every battlefield they tread. The Chaos Knights, as manifestations of the ruinous powers, feature a complex web of key players that define their presence in the galaxy. These entities, ranging from individual pilots to vast organizations, shape the nature of these corrupted war engines and their role on the battlefield. Understanding these players provides a glimpse into the dynamics of power, ambition, and chaos that drive these fearsome constructs. At the core of the Chaos Knights are the Dreadblade pilots, lone warriors who have severed ties with their night houses and sworn themselves to chaos. These individuals are pivotal, not merely for their skill in commanding these monstrous machines, but for their symbolic role as traitors who have abandoned loyalty, duty, and humanity. Dreadblades are bound to the Chaos Gods through dark pacts, and their autonomy is a double-edged sword. They wield immense personal power, but are often at the mercy of the entities they serve. Their reputation as solitary agents of terror makes them both unpredictable and extraordinarily dangerous. Among the Dreadblades, some figures stand out as infamous legends. One such individual is Voracos the Ashen, a pilot whose night desecrator, Woe Incarnate, is a symbol of despair. Once a noble defender of an imperial forge world, Voracos succumbed to the whispers of chaos after his house fell to a rival faction. His knight is now a corrupted monstrosity, its plasma weapons powered by the suffering of enslaved psychers. Figures like Voracos embody the moral and spiritual decay that transforms these warriors into agents of annihilation. Beyond individual pilots, corrupted night houses play a crucial role in the spread of Chaos Knights. Entire houses have fallen to the influence of the ruinous powers, often through subterfuge or coercion. House Lucaris, also known as the Iconoclasts, serves as a prime example. Once proud defenders of the Imperium, their downfall began with the slow erosion of their faith in the Emperor and the eventual embrace of the Dark Gods. Today, they are a ferocious force of destruction, known for their brutal tactics and savage devotion to Khorne, the Blood God. Their knights, adorned with blood-soaked banners and skull trophies, epitomize their relentless thirst for battle and slaughter. While some houses fall to chaos as a whole, others splinter, creating factions within themselves. The rivalry between loyalist and traitorous members of these houses adds another layer of tragedy to the saga of the Chaos Knights. House Arthin, for example, became a battleground of ideals when a portion of its members turned to chaos. This internal conflict left their world in ruins, and both factions now roam the galaxy, one seeking redemption, the other utter destruction. The Chaos Gods themselves are also key players in the corruption of the Knights. Each deity leaves a distinct imprint on their servants. Khorne's influence drives his champions to relentless aggression, favoring knights outfitted for close-quarters combat. These machines bear cruel melee weapons like chain blades and thunderstrike gauntlets, with every strike a testament to their god's insatiable hunger for blood. In contrast, Sentient Chaos Knights are more enigmatic, employing sorcerous technology and psychic warfare. Their machines shimmer with eldritch energy, their weapons twisting reality itself. Nurgle's Knights are plagues in mechanical form, exuding rot and disease that infect entire battlefields. These walking contagions are living proofs of entropy, their decay unstoppable by conventional means. Slanesh, on the other hand, crafts his champions into twisted icons of excess, their elegance a stark contrast to their horrifying lethality. Their movements are almost hypnotic, and their attacks are delivered with cruel precision, tormenting their victims with both physical pain and psychological despair. Chaos warlords and demon princes are frequent allies or masters of the Chaos Knights. These powerful beings often use the Knights as tools to further their own agendas, sending them into battle to annihilate foes or sow fear across entire sectors. In return, the pilots of Chaos Knights receive dark blessings and the promise of power beyond comprehension. However, these alliances are not always stable. The volatile nature of chaos ensures that even the most seemingly loyal servant can become a rival or a threat. Another critical group shaping the Chaos Knights are the Dark Mechanicum. These heretics provide the technical expertise required to maintain and corrupt the Knight suits. They take a perverse delight in twisting the sacred technology of the machine god, replacing purity with heresy. The Dark Mechanicum doesn't merely repair Chaos Knights, they enhance them, adding forbidden weaponry and warp-infused systems that defy understanding. Their role as enablers of corruption ensures the continued presence of these monstrous machines on the battlefield. Finally, we must consider the worlds they conquer. Chaos Knights are not solitary invaders, but part of a broader tapestry of chaos incursions. They work alongside Chaos Space Marines, Traitor Guard, and demonic legions to tear down Imperial defenses and leave planets in ruin. On these campaigns, Chaos Knights often act as vanguard forces, breaking enemy lines and paving the way for the chaos that follows. The Chaos Knights are more than just corrupted war machines. They are the culmination of a vast network of influence, ambition, and power within the dark pantheon of chaos. From the solitary Dreadblade seeking personal vengeance to entire houses damned to eternal servitude, they embody the multifaceted and deeply personal nature of chaos itself. Through their actions, they do not just win battles. They reshape the very nature of war, leaving a legacy of destruction and despair in their wake. The journey of the chaos. Knights into the grasp of the ruinous powers is a tale of desperation, betrayal, and the relentless allure of forbidden power. It is a process rooted in the vulnerabilities of humanity, pride, ambition, despair, and the insidious influence of the Chaos Gods, who exploit these weaknesses with unparalleled cunning. To understand how these once loyal defenders of the Imperium became instruments of destruction, we must delve into the cultural, spiritual, and societal elements that shaped their downfall. The origins of Chaos Knights are intertwined with the great age of expansion known as the Age of Strife. During this tumultuous era, humanity's galaxy-spanning empire crumbled under the weight of warp storms, alien invasions, and internecine conflict. On countless isolated worlds, night houses emerged as feudal defenders, their massive war engines becoming symbols of power and authority. These knights, piloted by noble scions of their houses, were revered not just as weapons, but as sacred relics, embodiments of tradition and duty. However, isolation bred its own dangers. Many night worlds were cut off from the Imperium for millennia, leaving their cultures to evolve independently. Without the guiding hand of the Emperor or the Adeptus Mechanicus, some houses developed idiosyncratic beliefs and rituals that, over time, grew ripe for exploitation. In the absence of centralized authority, superstition took root. Pilots turned to arcane practices to commune with their machines, unknowingly opening themselves to the whispers of the warp. The first seeds of corruption often began subtly. Pilots struggling with the immense physical and mental strain of controlling their knights found solace in voices that promised strength and clarity. These whispers, emanating from the Immaterium, spoke directly to their fears and desires, offering power in exchange for loyalty. For some, the lure of personal glory outweighed their sense of duty. For others, the promise of saving their people from alien invaders or rival houses seemed too vital to ignore. Not all houses fell to chaos through whispers alone. Some were driven by desperation in the face of overwhelming odds. When Orc Wa'ags, Tyrannid swarms, or Eldar raiders threatened their worlds, these houses found themselves alone and outmatched. With no aid from the Imperium, some leaders turned to the warp for salvation, either knowingly or unknowingly invoking the power of the Chaos Gods. Though the immediate results were often victories against their foes, the cost of such alliances became apparent over time. The once proud knights, now tainted by warp energy, grew increasingly erratic, their pilots succumbing to madness or worse. Corruption also spread through conquest. During the Horus Heresy, when the galaxy erupted in civil war, many night houses found themselves torn between loyalty to the Emperor and allegiance to the War Master Horus. Those who sided with Horus often did so out of pragmatism, believing the Imperium's days were numbered. Yet their proximity to traitorous legions and the chaos forces that supported them exposed these houses to warp influences they could not resist. The bonds between pilot and machine, already intimate and precarious, became conduits for corruption as knights and their operators fell under the sway of chaos. The physical transformation of the Knights mirrored the internal corruption of their pilots. What began as minor alterations, flickers of warp energy across their armor, strange symbols etched into their plating, quickly escalated. The sacred machine spirits of the Knights were subsumed by demonic entities, their once stalwart minds warped into instruments of chaos. As these entities took control, the Knights became grotesque parodies of their former selves. Their armor warped and cracked, revealing pulsating veins of dark energy. Their weapons grew more vicious, infused with unnatural lethality that seemed to hunger for destruction. Cultural practices within the houses further accelerated their fall. Many Knight worlds maintained traditions of blood oaths and fealty, which Chaos used to its advantage. Ritual combat between Knights, once a noble sport, became rites of sacrifice to the dark gods. Fealty ceremonies in which pilots swore loyalty to their houses were twisted into dark pacts binding entire lineages to Chaos. Over generations, these corrupted traditions transformed once noble houses into sinister cabals, their loyalty to the Emperor replaced by devotion to the ruinous powers. In some cases, entire houses were corrupted through deception. The Chaos Gods, masters of manipulation, sowed discord among rival houses, inciting wars that left the victors vulnerable to their influence. The promise of power, whether through demonic weaponry, arcane knowledge, or alliances with powerful warlords, proved irresistible. By the time the victors realized the true cost of their choices, it was too late. Their Knights were already twisted beyond recognition, and their souls were irrevocably bound to chaos. The pilots themselves underwent harrowing transformations. Their bond with their Knights, once a source of strength, became a source of torment as the warp eroded their humanity. Many succumbed to madness, their minds shattered by the constant presence of demonic entities within their machines. Others embraced their new reality, reveling in the power and destruction they could unleash. For these individuals, the line between man and machine blurred, their bodies and souls fused with their Knights in grotesque symbiosis. The fall of the Chaos Knights is not merely a tale of individual weakness or ambition. It is a reflection of the insidious nature of chaos itself, which exploits the cracks in even the most stalwart defenses. The ruinous powers do not simply conquer, they corrupt, transforming their victims into willing agents of destruction. For the Chaos Knights, this corruption is both their curse and their power, a legacy of devastation that continues to plague the galaxy. The evolution of chaos. Knights from noble defenders to instruments of devastation is marked by distinct phases, each defined by their deepening entanglement with the ruinous powers. These stages not only highlight their growing corruption, but also the key events and transformations that turned them into some of the most feared entities in the 41st millennium. The first stage of their development lies in the Age of Strife, where the seeds of chaos were sown. As warp storms engulfed the galaxy and cut off countless Knight worlds from the rest of humanity, these once thriving bastions of imperial order became isolated, forced to fend for themselves. During this era, many Knight houses developed unique traditions and customs, often incorporating ancient rites to maintain bonds with their war engines. While these rituals were initially harmless, they created fertile ground for the subtle influences of chaos. Pilots began to experience strange phenomena during their communion with their machines, whispers, visions, and a growing sense of unease that would later be recognized as the first touch of the warp. The Horus Heresy marked the next critical phase in the development of the Chaos Knights. As the galaxy burned in civil war, many Knight houses were drawn into the conflict, forced to choose sides in a battle that transcended loyalty to the Emperor or the War Master. For those who sided with Horus, proximity to the traitor legions and their allies exposed them to the corruption of chaos on an unprecedented scale. Entire houses were swayed by the promises of power, vengeance, or survival, their noble heritage crumbling as they pledged fealty to the dark gods. The once sacred bonds between pilots and their Knights were twisted, with many machines becoming receptacles for demonic entities. This period saw the first fully corrupted Knights emerge, their armor scarred with unholy runes and their weapons infused with the energies of the warp. In the aftermath of the heresy, the traitor legions retreated into the Eye of Terror, taking many corrupted night houses with them. This withdrawal marked a significant transformation in the nature of Chaos Knights. Isolated from the material galaxy, these houses became entrenched in the warp, their exposure to its energies accelerating their corruption. Over millennia, the pilots and their machines fused into grotesque symbiotic entities. The machines themselves were no longer mere constructs of steel and ceramite, but living extensions of the warp, their forms shifting and pulsating with unholy vitality. This stage also saw the rise of the Dreadblades, solitary knights who broke from their houses to pursue their own dark agendas, often as mercenaries or agents of chaos warlords. The scouring and subsequent millennia of imperial reconquest pushed the Chaos Knights to evolve further as they adapted to new roles on the battlefield. No longer bound by feudal traditions, they became instruments of terror, striking fear into the hearts of their enemies. Their tactics shifted from organized warfare to campaigns of annihilation, where they razed entire worlds to the ground in service of the dark gods. This period also saw the emergence of alliances between Chaos Knights and other servants of the ruinous powers. Whether fighting alongside traitor legions, demonic hosts, or the lost and the damned, they became key components of chaos warbands, their destructive potential amplifying the devastation wrought by these forces. The Black Crusades of Abaddon the Despoiler represent another critical stage in the evolution of Chaos Knights. These galaxy-spanning campaigns provided the perfect backdrop for their growing prominence. Chaos Knights played pivotal roles as shock troops and siege engines, smashing through Imperial defenses with terrifying efficiency. Their ability to inspire terror and chaos among enemy ranks made them invaluable assets to Abaddon's war effort. During these crusades, their weaponry and tactics became even more specialized. Some knights were outfitted with warp-infused ranged weapons capable of annihilating entire regiments, while others wielded devastating melee armaments that tore through even the most heavily fortified defenses. In parallel, the influence of the Dark Mechanicum further shaped the evolution of Chaos Knights. These heretics, driven by their hatred for the Adeptus Mechanicus and their reverence for the Chaos Gods, provided corrupted night houses with forbidden technologies that enhanced their lethality. Warp drives, demon-forged weapons, and unholy augmentations became standard among Chaos Knights, transforming them into entities that blurred the line between machine and demon. This collaboration also deepened their bond with the Warp, making them even more unpredictable and dangerous. The 13th Black Crusade and the opening of the Great Rift marked the current phase of the Chaos Knights' development. With the galaxy divided by the Cicatrix Maledictum, the forces of chaos gained unprecedented opportunities to spread their influence. Chaos Knights have become even more prominent as tools of destruction, often leading the vanguard of invasions into Imperial territory. The warp storms that rage across the galaxy have strengthened their connection to the Immaterium, making them nearly invincible in battle. Their presence on the battlefield is now not just a tactical advantage, but a symbol of the inevitability of Chaos's encroachment. Throughout their history, Chaos Knights have undergone a profound transformation, from noble defenders of humanity to the walking embodiments of destruction and corruption. Each stage of their development reflects the deepening grip of chaos on their souls and the evolving nature of their role within the galaxy. As they continue to march across the battlefields of the 41st millennium, they serve as a grim reminder of the power of the ruinous powers and the fragility of even the most steadfast defenders of humanity. Among the countless dark chapters in the history of the Chaos Knights, one stands as a pivotal event that reshaped their role in the galaxy: the Siege of Colossi Prime. This monumental battle not only showcased the devastating power of the Chaos Knights, but also demonstrated the intricate web of corruption and ambition that drives them. The siege became a turning point, cementing their reputation as harbingers of destruction and revealing the full extent of their allegiance to the ruinous powers. Colossi Prime, a vital night world of the Imperium, was renowned for its unyielding loyalty and the formidable strength of its night house, House Morbidia. The world stood as a bastion of imperial might, its towering knights defending not only their home, but also nearby sectors from Xenos invasions and heretical incursions. However, the planet's location near an unstable warp rift, known as the Abyssal Scar, left it vulnerable to the insidious whispers of chaos. Over centuries, this proximity to the warp chipped away at the house's unity, sowing seeds of doubt and mistrust among its members. The catalyst for Colossi Prime's downfall came during the Great Rift's emergence. As the Cicatrix Maledictum tore through the galaxy, the Abyssal Scar surged with chaotic energy, enveloping Colossi Prime in storms of warp-infused madness. House Morbidia, already fractured by internal tensions, found itself besieged not by an external foe, but by the nightmares that had long simmered within its own ranks. Ancient rivalries flared into open conflict, and pilots began to hear voices from their night suits, promises of power, revenge, and freedom from the burdens of loyalty. Among the house's scions, Lord Galmec Morbidia, the house's patriarch, became a focal point of this tragedy. Known for his rigid adherence to tradition, Galmec had long resisted calls to adapt to the Imperium's changing demands. Yet, as the warp storms intensified, he found himself increasingly isolated, even within his own family. His son, Darren, a talented yet fiercely ambitious night pilot, had grown resentful of his father's leadership. The whispers of chaos seized upon this resentment, convincing Darren that his destiny lay not in serving the Imperium, but in forging his own path to glory. The betrayal came during a critical moment in the house's defense. As the warp storms unleashed demonic incursions across Colossi Prime, House Morbidia's knights rallied to repel the invaders. In the heat of battle, Darren turned on his father, striking down Galmec with a plasma lance before declaring his allegiance to the Dark Gods. This act of treachery shattered the morale of the Loyalists, creating chaos within their ranks. Those who shared Darren's discontent quickly followed his lead, turning their weapons on their former allies and plunging Colossi Prime into civil war. The demonic forces capitalized on this internal strife, reinforcing the traitorous knights and driving the Loyalists into retreat. The warp's influence grew stronger with each passing day, warping the very fabric of the planet and transforming the once majestic knights of House Morbidia into grotesque abominations. Darren, now calling himself the Lord of Ashes, ascended as the leader of this corrupted faction. His knight, a desecrator named Fellblade Dominion, becoming a beacon of Chaos's power. The fall of Colossi Prime reached its zenith when Darren performed a dark ritual at the planet's heart. Using the souls of captured Loyalist pilots as sacrifices, he invoked the power of the Chaos Gods to sanctify the world as a shrine to their glory. The ritual culminated in the summoning of a warp rift, forever binding Colossi Prime to the Immaterium. The planet's surface, once lush with verdant plains and noble fortresses, was transformed into a nightmarish wasteland, its skies perpetually aflame with warp energy. The siege of Colossi Prime had far-reaching consequences. For the Imperium, the loss of such a strategically significant world was a devastating blow. The corruption of House Morbidia served as a grim reminder of the ruinous power's ability to infiltrate even the most steadfast bastions of loyalty. Attempts to reclaim the planet have been met with failure, as the Chaos Knights who now rule it are entrenched within an environment that feeds their power. Colossi Prime has since become a staging ground for chaos incursions, its corrupted knights leading campaigns of terror across neighboring systems. For the Chaos Knights themselves, the fall of Colossi Prime was a triumph that solidified their role as tools of destruction and symbols of Chaos's dominion. The battle revealed their capacity not only to shatter enemy lines, but also to unravel the social and spiritual cohesion of those they fight. The transformation of House Morbidia from loyal defenders to vengeful betrayers encapsulates the essence of Chaos Knights, Their strength lies not just in their weaponry, but in their ability to corrupt and subvert the very ideals they once upheld. Darren Morbidia, now a figure of legend among Chaos-aligned forces, continues to spread ruin as the self-proclaimed Lord of Ashes. His knight, a towering horror adorned with the sigils of all 4 Chaos gods, serves as a rallying point for other traitorous houses and dreadblades seeking power. Colossi Prime, now known as the Black Throne, stands as a dark monument to the ruinous power's triumph, its warp-scarred landscape a testament to the fragility of loyalty in the face of corruption. The events at Colossi Prime encapsulate the true nature of Chaos Knights. They are not merely engines of war, they are catalysts of despair and ruin, capable of breaking both armies and the very fabric of belief. Their story is one of ultimate betrayal, a cautionary tale that underscores the Imperium's eternal struggle to hold the line against the inexorable advance of chaos. The Chaos Knights leave an indelible mark on the galaxy, their presence reverberating across every level of existence in the 41st millennium. From the desolation of planets and the erosion of societal structures to the profound psychological and spiritual damage they inflict, their impact is multifaceted and far-reaching. The ruinous powers use these corrupted war machines as more than blunt instruments of destruction. They are tools to unmake the galaxy's fragile balance, spreading chaos's influence wherever they tread. On the planetary scale, the devastation wrought by Chaos Knights is unparalleled. These massive war engines are designed to crush defenses, topple fortresses, and obliterate armies. Yet their destruction goes beyond the physical. A planet attacked by Chaos Knights often becomes a ruinous wasteland, scarred not only by their weapons, but also by the corrupting influence of the warp. The ground blackens and cracks beneath their steps, unnatural storms rage across once calm skies, and the very fabric of reality grows thin, allowing demonic incursions to proliferate. Worlds left in their wake are rarely habitable. They either become barren husks or are consumed entirely by the immaterium, lost to the warp forever. The Chaos Knights also destabilize entire regions of space. Their campaigns are not isolated acts of violence, but calculated assaults that disrupt trade routes, sow discord among Imperial forces, and spread fear across sectors. A single Chaos Knight incursion can paralyze an entire subsector's supply chain, forcing the Imperium to divert precious resources to contain the threat. In many cases, the presence of Chaos Knights heralds a larger invasion by Chaos warbands or demonic hosts, amplifying their impact. The knowledge that these engines of destruction may strike at any moment keeps entire planetary populations in a state of constant anxiety, undermining morale and fostering dissent. The psychological impact of Chaos Knights is as devastating as their physical presence. To face one in battle is to confront an embodiment of corruption and despair. These towering monstrosities are terrifying, not just for their sheer size and power, but for the aura of malevolence they radiate. Soldiers who survive encounters with Chaos Knights often speak of an overwhelming sense of hopelessness that gripped them during the battle. This effect is no coincidence. It is a manifestation of the warp energy that fuels these machines. This psychic weight shatters the will of defenders, often leading to mass desertions, insubordination, or even outright rebellion in the ranks of the Imperium. Entire civilizations have been unmade by the influence of Chaos Knights. Their attacks frequently target not just military installations, but symbols of authority and culture. Hive cities, temples, and manufactorums are reduced to rubble, and the survivors are left leaderless and desperate. This vacuum of power creates fertile ground for chaos cults to take root, further spreading the ruinous power's influence. The arrival of Chaos Knights can destabilize planetary governments, leading to prolonged periods of anarchy and chaos that extend far beyond the initial assault. Over time, these planets often fall entirely under Chaos's sway, either joining the ranks of corrupted worlds or becoming spawning grounds for future invasions. For the Imperium, the impact of Chaos Knights extends beyond the immediate destruction they cause. Their presence serves as a grim reminder of the Imperium's vulnerability and the limitations of its power. The fact that even the most noble of defenders, night houses, can fall to chaos strikes at the heart of the Imperium's narrative of divine righteousness and invincibility. It challenges the faith of Imperial citizens and sows seeds of doubt among even the most devout servants of the Emperor. The psychological scars left by Chaos Knights are not easily healed. They persist for generations, haunting the collective memory of those who endure their wrath. The warp itself becomes more unstable in the aftermath of Chaos Knight incursions. The presence of these corrupted machines, deeply entwined with the immaterium, often leaves scars on reality. Warp storms become more frequent, and demonic activity intensifies in regions where Chaos Knights have rampaged. These disturbances make travel through the affected areas perilous, cutting off entire systems from aid and isolating them from the broader Imperium. For the Adeptus Mechanicus and other factions reliant on stable trade and communication, these disruptions pose existential threats, as vital resources and reinforcements are delayed or lost entirely. The influence of Chaos Knights also extends to their enemies, particularly loyalist night houses. The knowledge that their once noble peers have succumbed to the ruinous powers is a source of profound shame and anguish. These loyalist houses often feel a personal responsibility to eradicate their corrupted counterparts, leading to vendettas that span centuries. These feuds drain resources and attention, distracting loyalist houses from other pressing threats and weakening the Imperium's overall ability to respond to crises. For some loyalist pilots, the realization that their own night suits share the same vulnerabilities exploited by Chaos leads to paranoia and obsession, further straining their fragile bonds with the Imperium. Even among the ranks of Chaos, the presence of Chaos Knights reshapes the dynamics of power. These towering war engines are not mere subordinates. They are powerful entities in their own right, capable of commanding respect or fear from Chaos warlords and demon princes. Their presence often shifts the balance of power within Chaos warbands, with their pilots leveraging their destructive potential to gain influence or challenge rivals. This internal competition sometimes leads to spectacular displays of violence, as Chaos Knights battle each other for dominance, leaving entire regions ravaged in the process. In the wider galactic context, the Chaos Knights serve as a grim testament to the ruinous power's ability to corrupt even the most stalwart defenders of humanity. They are a chilling example of what happens when faith falters, ambition overrides duty, or despair takes hold. Their very existence undermines the ideals of the Imperium, proving that no institution, no matter how noble or venerable, is immune to the lure of chaos. For the galaxy at large, the Chaos Knights are a reminder that the line between order and anarchy is perilously thin, and that the forces of corruption are always waiting to exploit the cracks. The legacy of the Chaos Knights is one of ruin and despair, a shadow that looms over the galaxy and ensures that the horrors of chaos remain ever present. Whether obliterating entire worlds, destabilizing sectors, or shattering the resolve of their enemies, they leave behind a trail of destruction that reshapes the galaxy in Chaos's image, one battlefield at a time. Chaos Knights are far more than corrupted versions of their loyalist counterparts. They are unique entities that blend war, corruption, and the supernatural into a singularly horrifying force. Their distinctive features set them apart, not only as engines of destruction, but as symbols of Chaos's insidious power. Each Chaos Knight is a unique amalgamation of its pilot's soul, its demonic influences, and the Dark Mechanicum's unholy modifications, making every one of these war machines a singular and terrifying spectacle on the battlefield. One of the most striking aspects of Chaos Knights is their physical transformation. Once majestic constructs, their frames are now warped into grotesque, living monstrosities that seem almost organic. The warp's touch is evident in every jagged edge, pulsating vein, and corrupted plate of armor. Their once pristine banners and house insignias are defiled, replaced by the sigils of chaos or grotesque mockeries of their former glory. This physical mutation extends to their weapons, which often appear as extensions of the machine itself, growing and pulsating like living entities. For instance, a thermal cannon might exude a constant, sinister heat, its barrel glowing with warp fire, while a Reaper chainsword might drip with ichor as if alive. The relationship between a Chaos Knight and its pilot is deeply disturbing. Loyalist Knights are controlled through a symbiotic bond between the pilot and the machine's machine spirit, a connection rooted in mutual respect and a shared purpose. In Chaos Knights, this bond is twisted into a horrific union of domination and submission. The pilot's soul becomes intertwined with a demonic presence that has taken root within the Knight. This demon does not merely reside in the machine. It actively influences and torments the pilot, amplifying their darkest desires and fears. Over time, this bond erodes the pilot's humanity, leaving behind a creature driven by primal urges and the will of chaos. The psychological impact of this union is profound. Pilots of Chaos Knights often experience visions, hallucinations, and nightmares, all of which serve to break down their mental defenses and bind them more tightly to the will of the ruinous powers. In battle, this manifests as a relentless ferocity and a complete disregard for self-preservation. Unlike their loyalist counterparts, who fight with discipline and strategy, Chaos Knights are driven by rage, hatred, and an insatiable thirst for destruction. This makes them terrifying opponents, as they are utterly unpredictable and will stop at nothing to annihilate their enemies. Another unique aspect of Chaos Knights is their connection to the warp. While all Chaos-aligned entities draw power from the Immaterium, Chaos Knights serve as living conduits for its energies. This connection grants them abilities that go beyond the physical capabilities of their loyalist counterparts. For instance, some Chaos Knights can project psychic auras that disrupt enemy communication and coordination, sowing confusion and panic among their foes. Others are capable of summoning demonic entities to aid them in battle, their corrupted hulls acting as portals to the Immaterium. This ability to manipulate the warp gives Chaos Knights an edge that makes them more than just war machines. They are walking cataclysms. The influence of the Dark Mechanicum is another defining characteristic of Chaos Knights. These heretics, unbound by the restrictions of the Adeptus Mechanicus, delight in pushing the limits of technology through unholy means. They enhance Chaos Knights with forbidden technologies, such as demon-forged reactors that allow them to unleash devastating blasts of warp energy or armor, plating infused with unholy sigils that make them resistant to conventional weapons. These modifications often come at a cost, as the machines grow increasingly unstable and unpredictable. However, this instability only adds to their terrifying nature, as even their allies cannot predict the full extent of their destructive potential. The customization of Chaos Knights extends to their weaponry. Each knight's arsenal is a reflection of its patron Chaos God or the pilot's personal inclinations. Khorne-aligned knights favor brutal, close combat weapons like massive chain cleavers and thunderstrike gauntlets, while Sentient knights wield warp-infused cannons that bend reality itself. Nurgle's knights exude toxins and disease, their weapons corroding armor and flesh with equal ease. Slaaneish's influence manifests in sleek, almost hypnotic designs, with weaponry that delivers swift, precise strikes that leave their victims in agony. Chaos Knights are also unique in their ability to warp their surroundings. Their mere presence on the battlefield alters the environment as the warp bleeds into reality around them. This phenomenon, often referred to as a corruption field, causes strange and terrifying effects. Plants wither and die, the ground cracks and smolders, and the air becomes thick with an oppressive energy that saps the will of those who stand against them. These fields often extend beyond the battlefield, leaving long-lasting scars on the planets they invade. Their individuality is another key trait. Unlike the uniformity often seen among loyalist knight houses, Chaos Knights are intensely personalized. Each one is a grotesque reflection of its pilot's soul and the nature of the demon inhabiting it. No two Chaos Knights are alike, even within the same corrupted house. One knight might be adorned with trophies taken from its victims, while another could bear the mark of its patron Chaos God in the form of a pulsating, unholy glow. This individuality makes Chaos Knights more than just machines. They are walking monuments to the horrors of chaos. Finally, their role in Chaos warbands sets them apart. Chaos Knights are not merely tools of destruction. They are often central figures within their warbands, serving as symbols of power and dominance. Their sheer size and presence make them natural leaders, with lesser chaos forces rallying around them. In some cases, Chaos Knights act as avatars of their patron gods, their actions on the battlefield serving as a direct manifestation of their deity's will. Chaos Knights are a fusion of corrupted technology, demonic influence, and human frailty. Their uniqueness lies in their ability to embody the very essence of chaos, unpredictable, terrifying, and utterly destructive. They are more than war machines. They are living nightmares, each one a masterpiece of corruption and a testament to the galaxy's eternal struggle against the ruinous powers. Within the dark pantheon of Chaos Knights, certain individuals stand out as living legends, their infamy spreading across the galaxy like a shadow. These figures are not merely pilots or warriors. They are avatars of the ruinous powers, embodying the corruption, ambition, and malice that define chaos itself. Their exploits, shrouded in both terror and fascination, serve as testaments to the power of the dark gods and the depths to which humanity can fall. Among the most notorious is Darren Morbidia, known as the Lord of Ashes, a former scion of House Morbidia who led his night world into ruin during the siege of Colossi Prime. Darren's betrayal of his father and his house remains one of the most chilling tales of Chaos's allure. Piloting the Desecrator-class Knight Fellblade Dominion, Darren's machine is a towering monstrosity adorned with sigils of all four Chaos gods, its every movement radiating malice. Darren has become a self-styled warlord, uniting disparate chaos forces under his banner and leading them on campaigns of terror. His mastery of manipulation and his ferocious skill in battle have earned him the respect and fear of even demon princes, making him a pivotal figure in the Chaos war machine. Another infamous figure is Kirik the Reaver, a Dreadblade who operates as a mercenary in the service of the ruinous powers. Unlike many Chaos Knights, Kirik has no allegiance to any single Chaos god, instead offering his services to the highest bidder or the most destructive cause. His knight, Havoc Eternal, is a twisted Paragon Gauntlet-class machine whose gaudy patchwork armor bears the marks of countless battles. Kirik's reputation for ruthless efficiency and unshakable independence has made him both an asset and a liability to Chaos forces. While he is often sought after for his skill and unpredictability, his self-serving nature means he may abandon an ally if a more lucrative or destructive opportunity arises. In the service of Khorne, the blood god, stands Vorthax the Red Butcher, a figure of unparalleled savagery. Once the heir of House Karathan, Vorthax succumbed to the whispers of Khorne after his family fell to an orc invasion. Promising vengeance, Khorne transformed Vorthax into one of his most fearsome champions. Piloting the Rampager-class Knight Bloodspite, Vorthax is an engine of relentless aggression, reveling in close-quarters combat. His knight's massive chain cleaver, Wrathfang, is said to pulse with the rage of its countless victims, and its armor is encrusted with the blood of both foes and allies. Vorthax's bloodlust is legendary, and his arrival on the battlefield often marks the beginning of a massacre. For Tzeentch, the Changer of Ways, Zarkov the Veiled serves as a cunning and enigmatic champion. Once a loyal servant of the Emperor, Zarkov fell to Tzeentch's temptations after being gifted visions of forbidden knowledge during a warp storm. His knight, the Desecrator-class Reality's Edge, is a nightmare of shifting forms and eldritch glow, its weapons twisting space and time to confound and destroy enemies. Zarkov's mastery of psychic manipulation and his strategic brilliance make him a valuable tool for Tzeentch's schemes. His true motives, however, remain unclear, and even his allies tread carefully around him, knowing that his loyalty is as fluid as the warp itself. Nibria, the Festering Queen, represents Nurgle's vile influence. Once the matriarch of House Viridios, Nibria turned to Nurgle after a plague decimated her people. In exchange for salvation, she offered her house's knights to the service of the Plague Lord. Her machine, the Despoiler-class Knight Blightmother, is a grotesque fusion of rusted metal and pulsating organic growths. Blightmother's weapons spew corrosive toxins and plague-infested projectiles, spreading Nurgle's gifts to all who stand against her. Nibria herself is a figure of twisted compassion, spreading Nurgle's plagues as a perverse form of blessing, and her presence is marked by a miasma that withers all life around her. Under the banner of Slaanesh, Velthra, the Whispering Blade, strikes fear and fascination into her enemies. Once a renowned duelist from House Philantris, Velthra fell to Slaanesh's allure after losing her family in a war of succession. Her knight, Ecstasy's Promise, is an elegant and horrifying creation, its armor shimmering with hypnotic patterns and its weapons striking with unnatural precision. Velthra is known for toying with her enemies, prolonging their suffering to savor every moment of their agony. Her reputation for elegance in destruction has made her a figure of both admiration and dread among Slaanesh's followers. Beyond these individuals, entire corrupted night houses have produced legendary figures whose stories are woven into the fabric of chaos. House Lucaris, known as the Iconoclasts, boasts champions like Varoth the Ruiner, who led his house in a campaign of annihilation across the Segmentum Obscurus. Piloting Iron Revenant, Varoth's tactical acumen and unyielding brutality have made him a scourge of Imperial forces. His defiance of the Adeptus Mechanicus, symbolized by the desecration of Mechanicus forges, has earned him a reputation as a rebel against all authority. Even among the ranks of the Dark Mechanicum, individuals such as Archmagos Sithrall have played pivotal roles in the rise of Chaos Knights. Sithrall, a heretic of unparalleled ingenuity, is known for creating some of the most devastating modifications seen in Chaos Knights, including warp-fueled reactors and demonically enhanced weaponry. His experiments have turned ordinary knights into unstoppable engines of destruction, and his name is whispered with both awe and fear by allies and enemies alike. The galaxy is vast, and the legends of Chaos Knights are many, but these figures stand as towering examples of what happens when ambition, despair, or madness collide with the boundless power of chaos. Each one, a reflection of their patron gods or their own corrupted souls, serves as a reminder of the dangers that lurk within the Immaterium and the eternal battle between order and anarchy. Their stories are etched in blood and fire, leaving scars on the galaxy that will never heal. The Chaos Knights are enshrouded in an aura of mystery and dread, their existence giving rise to numerous secrets and theories whispered among the ranks of the Imperium and Chaos alike. From the origins of their corruption to the nature of their symbiosis with the Warp, these enigmas reveal the depth of their connection to the Immaterium and the ruinous powers. As beings steeped in the supernatural, their history and capabilities often blur the line between fact and myth, leaving a trail of unanswered questions that haunt those who dare to confront them. One of the most pervasive theories about Chaos Knights is the role of the machine spirit in their corruption. Loyalist Knights are piloted through a bond with a sacred machine spirit, which serves as both a guide and guardian for the pilot. In Chaos Knights, these machine spirits appear to have been consumed, replaced, or twisted into demonic entities. The exact process of this transformation is unclear. Some speculate that the machine spirit is entirely annihilated, while others believe it is still present, tormented and trapped beneath layers of warp corruption. If the latter is true, it raises horrifying questions about whether the original machine spirits retain any awareness, forced to witness and even participate in the atrocities committed by their corrupted hosts. Another secret lies in the corrupted night houses, that disappear into the warp after pledging themselves to chaos. These houses often vanish entirely, their worlds swallowed by warp storms or torn apart during the rituals of their fall. Some of these knights reappear millennia later, their machines bearing impossible mutations and wielding weapons that defy logic. This phenomenon has given rise to the belief that time flows differently in the Immaterium, and that Chaos Knights are subjected to countless years of war, torment, and transformation before returning to real space. Such theories suggest that each Chaos Knight may have lived through centuries or even millennia of warp-forged madness, their pilots rendered unrecognizable shadows of their former selves. The mysterious Dreadblades, lone Chaos Knights who wander the galaxy, have inspired a myriad of unsettling theories. These knights operate independently, often serving as mercenaries or lone agents of destruction. Their origins, however, remain murky. Some Dreadblades claim to have once belonged to noble houses, but others speak of being drawn from the warp itself, their origins seemingly divorced from reality. Could these Dreadblades be constructs of pure chaos, created rather than corrupted? Or are they remnants of forgotten houses, erased from history by the Imperium for their heresy? The truth remains elusive, adding to the sense of unease that surrounds these solitary figures. The physical transformations of Chaos Knights also carry unsettling implications. Their grotesque mutations often seem to mirror the psychological state of their pilots, suggesting a deep connection between the machine and the human within. Some theorists within the Ordo Malleus have proposed that this is no coincidence, that the warp uses Chaos Knights as canvases, reshaping them to reflect the inner corruption of their pilots. This would mean that every jagged edge, pulsating vein, and warped weapon on a Chaos Knight is a physical manifestation of the pilot's soul, stripped bare by the Immaterium. If true, this theory confirms the deeply personal nature of Chaos's corruption and its ability to reshape reality to suit its own dark designs. The Dark Mechanicum's involvement in the creation and maintenance of Chaos Knights is another source of speculation. These heretics are known for their unholy modifications, but the full extent of their capabilities remains shrouded in secrecy. Some believe that the Dark Mechanicum possesses knowledge of ancient technologies far surpassing that of the Adeptus Mechanicus, gleaned from their communion with demonic entities. This could explain the otherworldly abilities of Chaos Knights, such as their capacity to summon warp energy or channel demonic power into their weapons. However, it also raises disturbing questions about what the Dark Mechanicum has sacrificed to obtain such knowledge. Are they merely engineers, or are they summoners, binding demons into the very essence of these machines? One of the most unsettling mysteries surrounding Chaos Knights is their apparent ability to return from destruction. Loyalist Knights, when destroyed, leave behind only wreckage and the tragic loss of their pilots. Chaos Knights, however, are often reported to reappear on battlefields long after their supposed destruction, their machines repaired or regenerated, and their pilots seemingly unchanged. This phenomenon has led to speculation that Chaos Knights are sustained by the warp itself, their existence tied not to the physical realm but to the Immaterium. Some even suggest that a Chaos Knight can never truly be destroyed, as its essence lingers in the warp, waiting to be reborn. This theory has chilling implications for those who face them, as every victory against Chaos Knights may only be temporary. The nature of the bonds between Chaos Knights and their patron gods is another source of intrigue. While it is clear that many Chaos Knights serve specific ruinous powers, the exact mechanism of this servitude remains unclear. Do the Chaos Gods directly intervene in the corruption of each knight, or is the process driven by the pilot's own alignment and desires? Furthermore, some Chaos Knights display traits associated with multiple gods, defying the usual alignment to a single deity. These polytheistic knights are especially rare and terrifying, their presence suggesting a deeper connection to Chaos Undivided or to some unspoken force within the Immaterium that transcends the individual gods. Rumors of entire night worlds existing within the Eye of Terror also persist, though no reliable evidence has ever been obtained. These worlds are said to be landscapes of perpetual war, where corrupted houses wage eternal battles against one another in the name of their dark masters. If true, these planets could serve as training grounds for Chaos Knights, forging them into even more formidable engines of destruction. Alternatively, they could represent the ultimate fate of corrupted night houses, their members condemned to fight endlessly as pawns in the Chaos God's eternal games. Finally, the origins of Chaos Knight corruption remain an open question. While many are known to have fallen during the Horus Heresy or in its aftermath, others seem to predate this period entirely. This has led to speculation that the seeds of chaos were present in the night houses from their very inception, planted by some ancient heretical force. Could the night houses, celebrated as paragons of imperial virtue, have been flawed from the start? If so, the corruption of the Chaos Knights may not be a deviation, but a fulfillment of their true destiny, a possibility that terrifies even the most stalwart defenders of the Imperium. The mysteries of Chaos Knights deepen their terrifying presence in the galaxy. Each unanswered question adds to the aura of dread that surrounds them, reminding those who face them that chaos is not merely an enemy to be defeated. It is a force that defies comprehension, reshaping reality itself. These enigmas are not just academic. They are weapons in their own right, spreading fear and uncertainty across the galaxy, and ensuring that the Chaos Knights remain an indelible scar on the fabric of the 41st millennium. The Chaos Knights embody the inexorable march of corruption, destruction, and despair that defines the 41st millennium. They are not merely war machines corrupted by the warp. They are symbols of humanity's frailty and the unrelenting power of chaos. In their towering forms, the ambitions and flaws of their pilots are laid bare, twisted into grotesque monuments to the ruinous powers. The galaxy they haunt is forever scarred by their passage, as worlds burn, civilizations crumble, and hope fades into ash. Their story is one of transformation, a descent from nobility to damnation. Born as symbols of honor and duty, the Knights once stood as the vanguard of humanity's strength against countless threats. Yet the Chaos Knights, their corrupted counterparts, reveal the fragility of those ideals. They remind the galaxy that even the most revered warriors and their sacred machines can fall, drawn into the abyss by whispers of power, vengeance, or freedom. Their fall is not just a personal tragedy, but a broader allegory for the Imperium's eternal struggle against the forces of decay and entropy. The presence of Chaos Knights reshapes not only the battlefields they tread, but also the hearts and minds of those who encounter them. For the Imperium, their existence is a blasphemy, a stark reminder of the cost of failure and the insidious reach of chaos. Each knight that turns to the ruinous powers represents a chink in the Imperium's armor, a crack in the bulwark that holds back the tides of the warp. For chaos, however, they are triumphs, living, breathing testaments to the power of corruption and the inevitability of entropy. Their corrupted war engines stride across the galaxy, not just as tools of destruction, but as harbingers of chaos's dominion. Yet the Chaos Knights are more than engines of ruin. They are complex, individualistic beings, each bearing the scars of their personal descent into darkness. Their stories, whether of betrayal, ambition, or desperation, are uniquely tied to the galaxy's broader narrative. These are not faceless monsters, but characters with histories and motivations, their paths twisted by the choices they made and the dark forces that exploited their weaknesses. This makes them all the more terrifying, for in their downfall they reflect the potential fate of any who stand against chaos. As the galaxy hurtles deeper into the darkness of the 41st millennium, the Chaos Knights stand as one of its most potent symbols. They are harbingers of the ruinous power's endless ambition, striding forth to tear down the foundations of the Imperium and spread the taint of the Immaterium to every corner of existence. Their shadow looms large over the future, promising only more bloodshed, more destruction, and the relentless advance of chaos. But in their story lies a lesson: no victory, no strength, and no faith is absolute. The Chaos Knights are a reminder that the struggle against darkness is eternal, and that the line between heroism and heresy is perilously thin. They challenge the galaxy's inhabitants to fight harder, hold the line longer, and resist the temptations that would see them fall. For in their towering forms, we see both the enemy at the gate and the reflection of what might be if that gate is breached. The march of the Chaos Knights continues, each step shaking the foundations of the galaxy, each war leaving deeper scars. Whether they represent the ultimate downfall of humanity or a reminder of the impermanence of all things, one truth remains: the Chaos Knights are eternal. They are the vanguard of Chaos's will, the storm that cannot be stopped, and the nightmare that will haunt the galaxy until its final breath. And as they stride into battle, banners tattered and weapons aflame, they offer only one grim promise: that Chaos will never rest and its reach will never falter.